Corduroy by Don Freeman. Signed and read by Linden Seaman. A red book cover with a small teddy bear wearing green overalls, missing one button. He is reaching down to pick up a button. A shelf with several dolls and stuffed animals. A teddy bear in green overalls, Corduroy, stands in the center. Corduroy is a bear who once lived in the toy department of a big store. Day after day, he waited with all the other animals and dolls for somebody to come and take him home. Illustration pans out to show the same toy shelf, but also more of the store. In the distance, people ride up an escalator. People make purchases at registers, and a girl and her mother walk through the store. The girl points over towards the toy section. The store was always filled with shoppers buying all sorts of things, but no one ever seemed to want a small bear in green overalls. Close up of the toy shelf. A girl in a red jacket with white mittens and a white scarf on her head points to Corduroy standing on the shelf. Her mother holds bags of purchased items and looks over at her. Then one morning, a little girl stopped and looked straight into Corduroy's bright eyes. "Oh, Mommy," she said, "look, there's the very bear I've always wanted." "Not today, dear," her mother sighed. "I've spent too much already. Besides, he doesn't look new. He's lost the button to one of his shoulder straps." Corduroy on the shelf looks sad. The girl's mother has taken her hand and is walking away. The girl also looks sad. Corduroy watched them sadly as they walked away. Corduroy looks down at his overalls where the button is missing. "I didn't know I'd lost a button," he said to himself. "Tonight, I'll go and see if I can find it." The toy shelf at night. The stuffed animals and dolls are all sitting and have their eyes closed as if sleeping. Corduroy is climbing down off the shelf, stepping onto a large block. Late that evening, when all the shoppers had gone and the doors were shut and locked, Corduroy climbed carefully down from his shelf. Corduroy on the ground, bent over slightly, looking at the floor. The background is dark. He is next to an escalator and began searching everywhere on the floor for his lost button. Corduroy's back is shown as he stands on the step of an escalator going up. Suddenly, he felt the floor moving under him. Quite by accident, he had stepped onto an escalator, and up he went. Curdoroy has turned around and is higher up on the escalator. He is steadying himself with his arm on the step above. Could this be a mountain? He wondered. I think I've always wanted to climb a mountain. Full 2-page spread of Corduroy just having stepped off the escalator onto the upper floor. The room is filled with furniture of all types and colors. Corduroy looks up at where he has just arrived. He stepped off the escalator as it reached the next floor, and there, before his eyes, was a most amazing sight. Tables and chairs, and lamps and sofas, and rows of beds. "This must be a palace," Corduroy gasped. "I guess I've always wanted to live in a palace." Still in the dark, Corduroy climbs up on a mattress. He wandered around admiring the furniture. "This must be a bed," he said. "I've always wanted to sleep in a bed." And up he crawled onto a large, thick mattress. Corduroy leans over the mattress, pulling on a button, but it is connected by 2 strings. A lamp is directly behind him. All at once he saw something small and round. "Why, here's my button!" he cried, and he tried to pick it up. But like all the other buttons on the mattress, it was tied down tight. Corduroy in mid-air as he falls backwards off the bed. The button he was pulling on flies through the air, the two strings trailing behind it. Corduroy's arm strikes the lamp behind him. He yanked and pulled with both paws until, pop! Off came the button, and off the mattress Corduroy toppled. Corduroy in the dark on the side of the mattress. The lamp lays on the ground behind him. His paws are up to cover his ears. Bang! Into a tall floor lamp. Over it fell with a crash. A night watchman in a security uniform on the down escalator, a flashlight in his right hand. His eyebrows are raised. Corduroy didn't know it, but there was someone else awake in the store. The night watchman was going his rounds on the floor above. When he heard the crash, he came dashing down the escalator. The watchman shines his light on the fallen lamp next to the bed. His mouth is slightly open in surprise. Corduroy is nowhere to be seen. "Now who in the world did that?" he exclaimed. "Somebody must be hiding around here." The light of the watchman's flashlight shines on a pillow on one of the beds. Between the pillow and a blanket, Corduroy's ears can be seen poking out. He flashed his light over and under sofas and beds until he came to the biggest bed of all, and there he saw two fuzzy brown ears sticking up from under the cover. The watchman with his flashlight has pulled down the blanket and is shining his light on the now exposed Corduroy, propped up against the pillow looking back at him. "Hello," he said. "How did you get upstairs?" The watchman holds Corduroy under his right arm and rides down the elevator. The watchman tucked Corduroy under his arm and carried him down the escalator. The toy shelf with dolls and stuffed animals, their eyes closed, sleeping on the shelf. Corduroy leans against a clown doll and sleeps, and set him on the shelf in the toy department with the other animals and dolls. The little girl in the red jacket and white scarf and mittens leans on the shelf and looks at Corduroy. He sits, eyes open, looking back at her. Corduroy was just waking up when the first customers came into the store in the morning, and there, looking at him with a wide, warm smile, was the same little girl he'd seen only the day before. The illustration pans out slightly to show the rest of the animals in the toy section looking at Corduroy as the woman behind takes him off the shelf. The girl in the red jacket holds up a small blue coin purse. "I'm Lisa," she said, "and you're going to be my very own bear. Last night I counted what I've saved in my piggy bank, and my mother said I could bring you home." The little girl is seen walking away past an escalator, hugging Corduroy as the woman working in the store stands with a box. "Shall I put him in a box for you?" the saleslady asked. "Oh, no, thank you," Lisa answered, and she carried Corduroy home in her arms. Lisa, the girl in the red jacket, runs up the stairs holding Corduroy out in front of her, smiling. She ran all the way up 4 flights of stairs into her family's apartment and straight to her own room. Lisa kneels on the floor with Corduroy in her bedroom. There are flowery window curtains, a bed in the corner with a patch quilt, a dresser, a rug, and a small doll-sized bed. Corduroy blinked. There was a chair and a chest of drawers, and alongside a girl-sized bed stood a little bed, just the right size for him. The room was small, nothing like that enormous palace in the department store. "This must be home," he said. "I know I've always wanted a home." Lisa sits in a chair holding Corduroy on her lap. She is sewing on a button. Lisa sat down with Corduroy on her lap and began to sew a button on his overalls. "I like you the way you are," she said, "but you'll be more comfortable with your shoulder strap fastened." Lisa hugs Corduroy to her chest. He hugs her back and smiles. "You must be a friend," said Corduroy. "I've always wanted a friend." "Me too," said Lisa, and gave him a big hug. The end.